Hello and welcome to my video on how to set up a table for your corn germination lab. I am going to try to make this as quick as possible because I know you don't want to watch a long boring video, but please bear with me and watch this. When I right click over this, you can see this menu. Unfortunately, on the new computer the school gave me, I can't set the software up to show a secondary menu, and for example, when I click filter, I can see a secondary menu that pops up right here. It says filter by selected cells, it says filter by selected cell color, etc. You cannot see this, and I don't know why it's not showing up on the video, and that's going to affect me trying to show you this. And I've been working at this for hours, and I apologize, I can't figure it out. So please bear with me, and I'll try to explain to you that menu problem that's happening. So let's start out with making our table real quick. Notice that in this initial template, everything is spaced out kind of evenly, and we're going to work with that here in just a moment. What I like to do before anything else is I like to take my numbers and I like to get them centered, and you can see we do that up here, center. I like to actually go through everything and center it if it's a value. But while we're at it, we can go ahead and do that whole other column too and get it all centered. Next thing we need to do is we need to take this and we need to make these all the same number of decimal points. Notice some of these 0 and 1s are not the same number of decimal points. So you can come over to this number area and you can add decimal points. We don't want to do that. We just want to change it, not to 1, but to 1 decimal point like that. Okay? Next thing we want to do is we want to see about how do you calculate the mean. Well, you could do this manually and you click on a cell and go up here to function, but there's a quicker way to do this. Click on one cell, drag it all the way across to mean, and then you just go over here to the auto sum option and it'll say average, and that'll automatically calculate all of your mean values. The other way to do it really quickly is more of the how do you do everything else. You click where you want something to be calculated, you go up here to function f of x, and that box is clicked on, and now you want to go and find your mean, which I just go under all here and you look for mean. Or I'm sorry, average, not mean. They call it average on this. I just passed it. Average. You could do it this way too. You click on that cell, go to f of x, find the average, and now we're only going to worry about number 1. We're just going to highlight the entire row. That's going to calculate for us the average for that mean right there. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK on that. So that gives us the mean that way. And you can do that each time for every other cell. Click on f of x, go ahead and highlight that entire trial. We don't have to do it this way. The shortcut is do it for 1. And once that formula is already input, you just go to Control C. Control C will copy, and then you click where you want it pasted, and you go Control V on your computer. And that's all you have to do. Once again, you can highlight and change the decimal places up here just like that. Now to do standard deviation, what you're going to do, come over here to standard deviation, click, go here to f of x function, and under all or statistics, you're going to go find stdev. And I apologize, I have a cold right now, so I just passed it. Nope, stdev. None of these, just stdev. Standard deviation. Okay, click on it. And again, we're only going to work with number 1, so highlight all of your raw data for trial 1. We call this the raw data. And then you go ahead and hit OK, and there's our standard deviation. Again, I can do that for each and every single row, but I don't want to do that. I'm lazy. I'm just going to click this, Control C, and then Control V, and it'll paste all that data for you. We do want to clean this up just a tad bit here, format-wise, and I actually wasn't counting on that appearing, but the way you end up, well, I'll show you. The way you do that, the quick way, is just to basically go over here and get rid of the border get rid of the border. This thing here will make you any border you want, and then you can actually set up your table. But what I'm just going to do is kind of come back here and add the border, the whole border that I had around all of them, and that way it just kind of fixes it. And you can do this when you make any of your tables. Just go and add a border to it, and your border is set to go. Go down here and add a border. Well, that border is already set. There you go. So now that looks nice and they're all separated. Next step, we don't necessarily want this data because it's just our initial and final. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to delete those. We don't even really need them. And that's it. So we really just wanted these numbers all to begin with. And another thing that's kind of nice, I personally like to do this. You just highlight some cells and then hit Control, and you do it for all the cells while holding the Control button on your keyboard. If you now go up to here to the Fill Color option, you can pick a color. I personally like to do that, and it just fills them in, and then it shows that those aren't data points we're worried about calculating. It's not that we were lazy to calculate it, it's just that we deliberately did not want them calculated. So this is pretty much it for our table. Everything is all set up. We now have our x-axis and our average of our y-axis. The problem is, it's not a normal way to make a graph where we would just highlight this and then hold Control and highlight this and go to make a graph. We've got to do this a little differently because of the cells that are here. The computer won't recognize it. So what you're going to do here is a little different than other labs, even though this is our first graphing activity. Go up here to Insert, and you're just going to go ahead and make a scatter plot just like this. So here is your scatter plot. It's pretty much nothing. What we're going to have to do is tell the computer what is the x and y axis. So after you make your scatter plot, go here to Select Data, and what you're going to do now on this data is tell it manually what you want. I'm going to go here and click Add, and now I hope you can see this on the video. You're going to manually tell the computer what your x and y values are. What's your x and y axis? I'm going to tell the computer my x axis will be this stuff, but in order to select them individually, I'm going to hold Control and click, click, click. And again, I'm holding Control while I do this. Now I let go of Control, and I just told the computer that those are my x-axis values. Guess what? I'm going to do the same thing for the y-axis. Click here, and I'm going to hold Control and click on each. Whoops. If you accidentally do what I just did, you got to hit Escape and do it all over again. Watch me clear everything out here. I made a mistake. I got to do it all again for the y-axis. I'm going to hold Control, and then I'm going to click it individually. If you accidentally screw up like that, you got to go back and redo it. That's as simple as it is. Okay? And now that I've done that, I click OK, and our graph should be made, and there it is. Our graph is actually made. What we need to do now is scale our x and y axis and do all the other stuff. But before we do that, let's go ahead and change a few things. I'm actually going to go in here really quick, show you how to, and I hope you can see this, but this is Microsoft Excel 2013. It's got a little plus to the side. For other versions, you're going to have to click on your graph, and up here in the Chart Tools area is going to be another option for editing your graph, and you'll have to do all that here, or up here for those earlier versions. For 2013, you just click on this little plus, and it'll tell you Chart Elements. I hope you can see this. I'm going to go here and tell it to deselect the grid lines. I'm now going to go down to Tread Lines, but I'm not going to click on anything. I'm actually going to click on the More Options. And again, you probably can't see this, but I'm clicking on the Tread Line More Options. Nothing should be appearing right now except that line. And now what I'm going to do is tell the computer to make it fit a line best to my data. I personally don't think this is a linear trend. I'm going to make a polynomial trend. It's almost always going to be one of those two. And I'm going to try to let it fit the curve as best as it can. And that one fits really well. I guess we can probably go with this curve right there like that. So one final thing that's nice to do, go to the bottom, tell it we want to display the equation, and we want the R square value. What that R square value is tells us how accurately our data falls on the line. Okay? Next thing we want to do is make our error bars. So again, go back here to the plus, or again, if you're on an earlier version, go up to the chart tool area and do all this. you're going to go over here and find the error bars. And you're going to go, not click on anything, instead go to the sub-menu of More Error Bar Options. And don't freak out because your entire graph will look crazy. Instead, once you did that More Error Bar Options, before you click anything, just go all the way to the bottom to Custom Specify Value. Now what you're going to do is you're going to enter a positive and a negative error bar value for this. So to do that, I'm going to click positive value, and we're going to pretty much highlight the standard deviation, but just like before, because these are separated, we got to hold Control. So I'm going to hold Control and click each standard deviation, and I'll click this. And I'm going to do the same thing, but for the negative value. I'm going to hold Control and click each cell individually. And if I screw up, I have to go back and redo it. And that's pretty much it. One last thing, these annoying horizontal bars, I've never learned why those are there. We need to get rid of those. So go over here and click on one and delete it. And it should automatically make your graph look nice like this. And now we just have to work on scaling a few things yet. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and try to fix my axis to be a little better scaled. To do this, I click over an axis and go to Format Axis. And when I format my axis, I'm going to look at what its range should be. It goes from a 0 to 4, and it's going to go up by every 1. So I'm going to tell it here to go up 0 to 4. And I'm going to tell it to go up by 1 instead of 0.5. By the way, this minor unit I almost never use, so don't worry about it. Okay? And that's pretty much it. Now, if you wanted to alter your numbers at all, you could come down here and do that, and that would make it more decimal places and that, but we'll do that later. Okay, so now I need to do the y-axis. Again, same thing. Click on it, right-click, Format Axis, and then what you're going to do here is look at your scale. It looks like it would be best maybe if we went to 1.2, and it did go a little below 0, so we're going to want a little negativity in our axis, so maybe we could leave that down there like that. But let's go to 0.2 up here for that. So, whoops, go negative 0.2 and a maximum of 1.2. And if you look here, it's going to 2.0. I mean, it's using the 100th of a place of estimation. We don't need the 100th of a place. We just need 1.2, 1.0, 1.8. So I'm going to go down here to numbers, like I said earlier. It's at the bottom, unless you're on a different version. And I'm going to tell it, I just want to go to, and you would go here to numbers too, by the way. Under number, you would go find number. I'm going to tell it, I want to go to 1 decimal place. And you can use thousand separators if you need to, but not in this case. Okay. Tell it 1 decimal point, and now I was able to do that just like that. And as a final note, you're going to need to go in here and add a title to your axis. Go here and click on Axis Titles, and you can go ahead and manually enter your X and Y titles with your unit and uncertainty. It should be exactly the same title and unit and uncertainty in each of these. And I mean, there are exceptions, but for this lab, it should be almost exactly like that here. And with that said, this chart title, I personally don't like it on my graph like that. I just click delete, and what I do is I click and I copy this graph, and I paste it into a Word file, and I usually put the title on the Word file when I do it. By the way, a couple tips. When you go to paste this in your Word file, especially if you got a newer Microsoft Word option, you right-click and you go to Paste Options. There's a wide variety of options, but make sure you pick the right one. I personally like to stick with the picture option that has the mountain to it. And the reason why is this, because I can scale it to any size I want to. If you don't do that, and you instead go right-click and you click like Use Destination Theme, I think what happened, this might not be the right one, but yeah, see how it does that? That's why I like the picture option, because I can rescale this later if I want to, and it won't let me in this case. Whoops. I just go here to picture option, and here's another thing I like too. You can click on it like this, and if you go over here to format, you can go to wrap text, and if you go to in front of text, it pretty much lets you do this. You can bring your picture and put it anywhere you want to, especially if you're trying to write a paper or something like that. So that's a little tidbit. And you can always go over here to insert text box, and this is how you can, pretty much add a title, and, go up here to shape, fill, and outlines and all that. And you can pretty much do it like this all here. And you can add your title. Whoops. It wasn't clicked in the box when I was trying to add the title. You can do all that here or whatever you need to do. It's up to you guys. I'm just trying to help you out. Hope this helped you out. Good luck with everything, and find my template and all that on Google Classroom. Have a nice day, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.